name is Samantha Brenner, and I'm here to talk about informal assessments. Informal assessments are those spontaneous forms of assessments that can easily be incorporated into the day-to-day classroom activities that measure the student's performance and progress. Informal assessments are content and performance driven. So some of my favorite informal assessments include entry warm-ups. So you can use this by giving learners an opportunity to settle into a routine and refresh their memory at the beginning of class. Examples of questions: content review questions that refresh students' memory of prior lessons, analysis of current content questions, and turn and talk to your neighbor style questions that allow students to collaborate. Some advantages: students get to think as soon as they walk through the door. They get to create a routine as a comfort zone, and they get to act as the assignment gets to act as a reminder for classroom learning goals. Disadvantages: it's hard to track for feedback. A lot of students want to hear your feedback as often as possible, but with warm-ups, usually you're using them to move on to your lesson, so you're not giving them immediate feedback. It can be easily lost or misplaced is what I find with paper copies. I've moved into using digital forms, either through Schoology or Google Docs, to keep the informal assessments so that way we can talk about them later. Schedule does not always allow for this type of informal assessment every day. A lot of times, like, you might have a 2-hour delay or something else might come up, and then you don't get to stick to that schedule. So this is something that needs to be a little bit more flexible. Another form of informal assessments is class practice quizzes. So this comes in a variety of forms, including Kahoot, quizzes, Quizlet. They are all electronic forms. I personally prefer quizzes because it's going to allow you to look at all students and students on an individual level as far as their personal learning. So you can use this to check students' prior knowledge of content both as a class and individually. As far as advantages, allow students to compete without stress. So they can give themselves a nickname or they can go with their actual name. And overall, it does give you a lot of opportunities to improve. So the competing is more a fun aspect than it is a stressful aspect. It documents students' understanding individually and as a group. So that's great. You can see where the class is as a whole, but you can also look individually back into the students' answers to see where they need more support. It motivates students to keep trying. It gives reward questions, or at least it does in quizzes. Where if you get a couple in a row right, it'll give you a redemption question. Disadvantages: it's completely dependent upon technology. If your school is not one-to-one, or if students don't bring a laptop that day and can't get a loan or a laptop, they won't be able to participate. It's dependent on students' use of time, so some students will move through questions a lot more quickly than others, and so it's something that I would do as an independent activity, that all the students start at the same time, but then there is something they should move on to when they are done. And then also students pick their name. So it does come down to how mature are your students. I have 9th graders. Sometimes they pick really wacky names. You just need to keep a close eye on that. All right, photo capture. Photo capture is this idea that the informal assessment can be used to provide a visual representation connected to the class content in order to evaluate the students' understanding. Some examples: provide a setting for a writing prompt, provide a popular art piece and ask for information related to the image, provide a historical headline or image and ask for details such as a newspaper article or a magazine cover. So some advantages: it encourages students to problem solve and be creative. It encourages discussion among other students, and the images can be used to stimulate the brain as far as making connections for memory. Disadvantages: students have control over their posts. So whatever they do post anonymously, if you were to do like a back channel, sometimes students don't always say the nicest things. You got to be careful about that. And it can upset students. Be careful what images you choose. Some things do trigger some emotions, so just always be careful what images you put up on screens. Journaling. As far as journaling, I use this a lot. I am an English teacher. This informal assessment can be used to document students' understanding of content, personal growth, or better understand the students' personal perspectives. So Google Sites, you could do a take-home journal, you could do writing prompts and short story shares. Some advantages: it allows for a safe space for students to share, it opens a door for creativity, holds students accountable for sharing their own thoughts. Disadvantages: some students excel writing since it is their first languages, other ones really struggle and it's hard to translate. It's hard to replace a journal if they lose it, and students tend to write off topic if struggling in class. So these are all things that I would keep a lookout for if you were going to do journaling. These are my citations, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.